Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream scene. We have an awesome episode for you guys. For Women's History Month, we are going to be talking about women in streaming and in content creation and our experiences as being women in the industry. So, first and foremost, I would like to welcome my three beautiful, lovely guests. If you guys wouldn't mind, please tell us about yourself. Tell us what you do, how long you've been streaming, etc. Let's start with who's new here? Bloody, it's your first time, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw you under the bus. You go first.
Sure. I'm Bloody. I stream Magic the Gathering pretty exclusively, except for a quick intro to Just Dance the other day, which is not embarrassing. I played Magic primarily. I've been streaming Magic for about a year. I've been streaming for just a total of a year and a half. And that, I don't know, intros are pretty weird. That's about it. That's about all you need to know.
You've only been streaming a year, year and a half? That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're definitely the newbie. Frank, what about you?
I've been around for around 4 years. It'll be 4 years in May. I do a lot of what people describe as like comfy, cozy games. Basically, if it doesn't have an ending, I want to play it because I want to play it forever. So things like Stardew Valley and The Sims and Animal Crossing has consumed my soul. I have a lot of fun. We just have a really goofy, welcoming community. Play games and hang out.
Awesome. And last but not least, Curvyllama, tell us about yourself.
Hello. I've been on Twitch since 2015. I stream. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I do like 1 week of GTA roleplay, and then I do, story games, scary games on Saturdays. Just a bunch. So I guess variety. I guess. I own a lot of llamas. The chat is filled with llamas, and yeah, that's me.
Llamas everywhere. So you guys have been streaming at this point for several years. Bloody is the newcomer, but this isn't obviously your first rundown with being a woman on the internet. What were some of your earliest experiences of being online and seeing, especially like seeing people who would say mean things, like what was that like for you guys?
I think from the perspective of Magic is like there's actually a very welcoming amount of lady streamers in Magic the Gathering, but I think you'll find that in women's chats versus men's chats is like people will feel much more comfortable telling you what to do. Whether they try to pay attention if you're better than they are or not, they'll just come in there and be like, no, you're wrong. I'm sorry. And that tends to happen in like paper Magic as well. So that's just like a very notable thing that I noticed since entering Magic is like it's a very big thing of people have been playing this game forever, and so they kind of just trust themselves over you. It's like I don't know. I find that I have to assert my own like mastery over the game to make sure that people know to not tell me what to do. I guess like I don't know. Backseat gaming is like is really rampant. I think as the first thing that pops in my head.
I think that's probably true, honestly, across the board. I don't know if I necessarily see it like in like it's more so in games that have more like strategy, I guess, or more min-maxing in like the simulation world, which is basically the kind of game that I play. But people will definitely come in and tell me what to do. And if I kind of go into a male counterpart stream and they're playing the same kind of game, I definitely don't see that. So I think that's probably just one of those things about being a lady where we just aren't allowed to have brains that work the same way, apparently.
We just need help constantly.
I'm just so helpless.
Please help. I came from H1Z1, as you know, is super toxic and very, I think it was like male, pretty much a lot of males more than girls played the game. Maybe I'm wrong there, but it felt like it. I guess there weren't as many females on the mics, so... But yeah, I would experience like killing someone in game, and then I would get on the mic and immediately be just, berated. I know it's not really the backseating like you were talking about, but it's just, I don't know. They hear, oh, hi, Crunch. Crunch is from H1Z, even he knows. You speak on the mic, and it's just like, the whole altercation is goes from cool to just, why are you here? You know, I'm even more mad that you're a girl that killed me. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that's basically my experience with it.
I definitely know that experience from being a kid and playing like my first online multiplayer experience was with Halo and Call of Duty. And I had a gamer tag that had girl in the name. And so my first experience was being like in middle school and hearing like the open voice chat that was the lobbies of Xbox and not really nice things, especially like, you know, people like even like didn't believe I was a girl, I guess, or like if they did, they thought I was like, they assumed I had to be like hideous or something, like, and that was like their way of like getting at you. Yeah. I get called that still, so
me too.
but yeah, it is interesting, and especially with what Bloody was saying about the backseating thing, that's definitely something that I notice in the difference. Like, yes, backseat gaming does exist in all chats, like for sure, especially if it's like a really strategy based game, but there is definitely a little bit more, especially like the unprovoked backseat gaming, like assuming that you need help or assuming you don't know what you're doing kind of thing.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it feels like you have to almost like train, at least in the Twitch world, like training your chat to kind of, and training your mods to help you kind of navigate that. But it is also like with you just being like, nope, I'm going to do this my way. Please don't tell me how to play the game. I know I'm not doing it the way you want to play it. Get over it. Like, if that's not what you want, then go play the game yourself, or go watch somebody who is welcoming that, because there are people on Twitch that do. But for me, it's not even so much backseating, but telling me like, go do this thing, or you're going to miss this thing if you don't do this. And you know, that's, you know, it's not letting me experience the game the way I want to. And you do have to, I feel like, if you're going to be in an online space as a woman, be just kind of an assertive woman, or allow that, I guess, or take that.
You know, I noticed that. I was trying a new format about 2 months ago because I qualified for like this big tournament that was in a format that I never played before. And like my chat, they're great people. It's a very comfy chat. Like, everyone's kind to each other. But I think I've conditioned them so much to not backseat gaming in a format that I do know, that when I sat down and did something that I don't know, even though for like months and months and months they know not to backseat game me, suddenly everybody just like started telling me what to do again, as if like that rule flew out the window. And so it's like, I know that they kind of saw me not knowing what I was doing as an opportunity for me to ask for help, and that just wasn't the case. Of like, it felt like I had to be like uber assertive about, no, I know what I'm doing. And if that's not the case, then people will just kind of slide in there, regardless of like, it's usually good intention. Like, you should do this. And Jenny, I don't know, I have like a no mom complex of like, if you tell me to do something, I'm not going to want to do it just because you told me to do it. And so it's very destructive in Magic the Gathering, especially when someone tells me to do the right play. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this wrong thing instead. And you shut up. Just go in the corner.
Yeah. So, and especially like as a professional, I'm sure that is like really frustrating. Yeah, you're not gonna make the right play all the time, but like if you're not asking for help, like, you know, just watch, just watch and observe. Do you guys have rules like I want to talk a little bit about the nuances of building a channel that maybe something like the male counterpart won't have to face. What kind of rules do you guys have for your stream, and maybe like situations that have arisen because of, you know, you being a woman and things are said in your chat that, you know, are happening more often in your chat than like a guy's chat? Sorry, that is my dog.
No. I guess, okay. I mean, regarding like our like comments on our bodies or comments on our looks or just any of it.
Yeah.
Any of that. I don't know that I necessarily have rules. My mods usually, like, anything that's directed at me, they let me handle or ignore. Like, that's kind of the way I do it, because I know, unless I'm feeling particularly sensitive on any given day, then I'll tell them ahead of time, like, maybe not just get it out today because it's going to hit me different. But most days, if it's directed at me and it's not directed at a group of people, it's like, you know, you look like this, or you are doing this, or you're wearing this, I can handle that. I will handle that, because either I'm going to ignore it because it's going to derail chat, or, you know, sometimes it's kind of like, hey, let me use this as a teaching moment to not criticize me for the way I look or what I'm doing or what I'm wearing. So that's kind of, I guess, how I handle that particular topic.
And what about like pet names and stuff too? Like someone brought it up in chat, like babe, or like
We don't do
you're
that.
hot or something.
Yeah, we don't do that immediately. That is one that we don't delete it or anything like that, but we will say, like, a lot of times my mods will like joke and be like, oh, hey, thanks, you know, like
That's what
My
kind of
mods
take
do
it on
that
themselves.
too.
But otherwise, like, I'll say, you don't know me well enough to be in love with me. You don't know me well enough to want to marry me. You don't know me well enough to call me babe. Please don't use pet names. I don't even let my partner use pet names. Like, please don't do those things. You know, like, I just address it head on because that's my personality and I'm going to kind of fight my way back. But I think it's a perfectly respectable thing to just ignore or take it out or do whatever you have to do, because it will be there.
For sure.
I do the same thing. I just kind of like, I kind of like roast the troll a lot, and my chat like loves that. So, and I love doing it. So, I don't know. Not if like someone comes in and says one thing, I roast them, but like if they persist or they come in and I always check their messages. Like if someone comes in saying like, "Hey babe, nice shirt," or something like that. I don't know, something weird like that. I like click their name, check their message, and I'm like, if this is your first message in my chat and it is, then I just continue to like absolutely not destroy them, but you know, I try to like not me in a mean way, but you know, I just kind of poke back, I guess.
I mean, look, they did something creepy. It's fairly reasonable to assume that you can act a certain way back. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I feel like,
and then they continue, we just ban them.
However you want to handle it, like it should be what you're comfortable with. Like some people are better just ignoring and letting those messages go by. Sometimes you call them out, maybe you ban them. You know, that's really up to how you want your channel to be and what makes you comfortable too. Like, you know, for me, like, yeah, if that stuff stays in chat and we just ignore it, that's fine. It doesn't really faze me anymore. But that stuff can really just make a streamer uncomfortable. And that's something that you have to think about ultimately, like what is going to make you comfortable as the streamer. And like, if that involves banning, you know, any slight like compliment towards you, like do that, because I used to be really strict about that. Like even people saying that I looked pretty, like I would just remove it because I didn't want that line to start to get crossed in people's minds. And it made me uncomfortable. So we banned it. And, you know, it's gotten like a little bit more lax now because I just like don't care as much. And I think like Curvy, I like to kind of call people out and kind of set the record straight kind of thing. But yeah, I think like it's really important to just make sure you set rules that is best for you, you know, and that could be as strict as you want.
I think it's also interesting that it's something that I don't know if anybody else does this, but I assess it day to day. Like there are days that I'm like, I don't know that I can be on camera today. So I'm just going to like stream without a camera, because the idea of like being seen and criticized, like I just can't do it. But like, I want to still show up for my community. Or there are days that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can be on camera, but maybe mods like remove this stuff if you see it rather than like let it go. But then there are days that I'm like, I'm just going to roast everyone that comes in and tries to tell me that I look a certain way.
Yeah.
Just come at me.
I have a certain line of like, if someone comes in and is like, oh, you look really pretty, and it's like, oh, I really like your top. It's like, okay, the guideline seems to be if you could say something to someone on the street without coming off as creepy, that's reasonable. But there's like certain words and languages to use and certain words and languages not to use. And that's like entirely the line. If people are like, you know, in a bit of a yellow zone of like, oh, they said something that's a little creepy, but it seems pretty innocent, I definitely won't like roast them or anything, but it all kind of depends. It's like if someone keeps pushing a line, I'll roast them or I'll ban them and I just won't talk about it. I think if people come in being like really bad, it's just like insta ban, insta delete. We don't talk about it. We don't like humor those people. But there's definitely like a fair amount of people in the middle who they're either like, you know, on one side, like in the red of like, yes, I'm being creepy, or like on the other side, maybe it's just like a language barrier, or they're just trying to say something nice. And like, you know, I feel like I usually give people I'll delete their message and I'll tell them why I deleted it, and then I'll give them like a redemption shot at being a normal human. And if not, we either just like ban them or roast them. But generally, it's like I feel like it doesn't feel good to be roasted from like language barrier stuff, because I've had that kind of happen before, and it's been pretty embarrassing on my
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm a lot slower to do that, but I'm
I
like
always
also.
assume- I'm the same way. I always assume that English is their second language anytime, especially if they're coming in and trying to be complimentary. My rule is if you're complimenting something I have control over, you're A-okay in my book. So like if you're complimenting my hair or my makeup or my shirt, or sometimes the shirt is a little bit weird, but it depends on
Yeah.
the shirt and their tone. But
That's fair.
like something that I have control over, that does not bother me. But as soon as you come in and you say, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful," or like that kind of compliment, that's what I'm starting to be like, well, I actually have a line that I say anytime somebody does that as their first message in my chat. I'll say, I hope you find literally anything else about the stream that you like, because that may have been the
Yeah.
reason that they clicked the stream, but I'm not, I don't know, like you're not going to stay just to stare at my face. If you're not, you're going to get bored and you're going to leave. So hopefully there's literally anything else that you like about
Yeah.
this.
I could stare at your face all day.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really interesting that you guys say that, because I definitely have the same perspective. And I wanted to kind of touch on something that Bloody brought up, because I saw a tweet about it on Twitter a few weeks ago of a streamer who was a woman who was like, is it okay to ban people that are just like kind of making me uncomfortable, but they didn't necessarily break a rule? And yes, absolutely. Like you can do whatever you want. Like it may not seem fair, and maybe the best thing is to address it first, give them a chance, see if it gets corrected. But at the end of the day, like you don't have to write specific rules if someone's making you uncomfortable.
yeah. I think the other big thing to remember is that if it's making you uncomfortable, it's probably making somebody in your chat uncomfortable too. And so bans are sometimes in the best interest of everybody. And it's, I think, nice to have hard and fast rules of like why you ban and why you don't. But at the end of the day, like if you're uncomfortable, your broadcast is going to suffer. It took me a long time to be okay with that. It took me a really long time to be okay with that. But I think, I don't know, like I said, if you're uncomfortable, everybody sees it. Everybody sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of like, I guess, stemming from that, I do want to talk about, and I think Wes kind of asked something kind of along these lines, but I kind of want to talk about the idea of a comment that I know I see in chat pretty often that I've actually used if I see it, I'll usually make an example of it. And it's something that, again, it comes from a place of genuine, like, they are trying to be nice, where they say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found like a real female streamer who's not like those other female streamers. Like, thank gosh you don't like use your body for views or something like that. And this is like, again, they mean it to be like, I guess they're coming from like a place where they're trying to be nice, but it really is not actually a compliment. I don't know if you guys have seen this in your guys' chat.
Yeah. I'm like a super duper competitive player, and I've won some tournaments in my like 1 year playing Magic. Like I think I'm in contender for like rookie of the year and that kind of stuff. And I think I'm probably along the lines of the most competitive woman. And so a lot of times people will definitely come in there and be like, wow, I like, when a girl is just like actually good at the game, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, well, like I'm happy that I'm a human who's good at the game, but like,
right. Oh yeah. You're my favorite
inadvertently
female
putting
streamer.
everyone else down. Yeah. You're like inadvertently putting everyone else down who like maybe isn't competing at the highest level. And it's like everyone has something to offer, like something awesome to offer. And it's like there's no reason to come in here and insult someone else just to try to be nice to me.
Yeah, I see that one too. It's like, oh, you're my favorite female streamer. I'm like, why am I in a box? Why can't I just be like one of your favorite streamers? Like, why? Like, I've never seen anyone be like, oh wow, you're my favorite male streamer. Like it's such a weird thing to say. It's like we're automatically like in a separate box.
Yeah, we get to be other.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like once you explain that to people, they're like, oh yeah, that is weird to say. Like again, it's not something. It's like almost like this like subconscious thought to like categorize women as just like a category of streamers, which is just not fair at all. Like it's weird.
Yeah. I think a big thing about that in particular too is that it does like that's not just a women in streaming or a women in gaming kind of thing. I mean, the fact that we've been having this discussion of women in gaming, like I mean, it shows that we still need that discussion because it's much bigger than just this space here that we otherize women and put them in these categories. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird when you flip it. You know, that's I think when people really see it, they're like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. I don't talk about my favorite male Magic player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring up a good point of like, you're right in that we exist in a public space where everyone could see the comments that people make about us, or at least the ones that aren't creepy DMs. And it like, you know, it becomes a lot more publicized and discussed as a result. But like, this is a thing that happens to women in every capacity everywhere in the world. It's like, we're lucky that we get to display why this is bad on our platform, but like unfortunately most people don't have a platform, and this just happens in like, you know, behind closed doors or in private. So I'm like happy that we could bring this kind of stuff to light under the understanding that this isn't just, you know, women in gaming. It's
For
like
sure.
women everywhere.
I think
it kind of comes. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think it kind of also comes from because unfortunately, like women being in gaming is still, I feel like it's still like slightly taboo for people because they just can't understand that women do play games. It's not just like a boy thing anymore, right? Not that I feel like it ever was, but I don't know. But anyways, I think it's just the younger kids that can't grasp that women play games. So they're still on that train of like male and female, different, you know. Does that make sense? Yeah. Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'll almost never, sadly, go away. I think it's always going to be there to a point. Like even I think I was at the store the other day, and this older dude, not even a younger guy, I told him what I do for a living, and he's just like, wow, that's so crazy, you play games? And I'm like, I do. And he's like, but you know, you're like the first girl I've ever met that plays a game. And I'm like, that's pretty crazy. And he's just
the
like,
first
well,
one you've asked.
Yeah, right.
So, and him being like an adult saying that, I'm just like, wow, it's still very much a boys thing, I guess. Still, even though girls are very prevalent in gaming, it's just like to a lot of people. And he was like a non-gamer, right? He didn't play games, so I don't know. I think it's never gonna really really change. I think there's always gonna be that underlining like it's a boy, it's a man sport or whatever. But
yeah, Magic
hope,
is
I guess,
a very similar way in that you go to like a Magic tournament in person, and there's just like very, very few women. I know like my first few competitive examples is like riddled with people trying to angle shoot me or cheat against me. Angle shooting is just like very technically bending the rules, or just kind of doing whatever you can to get an edge that's not technically cheating, but it's like very scummy. Or, you know, people will literally cheat unless I catch them. And so I've had to like adopt very assertive strategies in like Paper Magic, where I have to every turn ask what their hand size is, so they're not like sneaking in an extra card, or just like I have to interrogate my opponent every time so they know that I'm serious, I guess, and they don't try to cheat against me. But like my very first time sitting down for a Magic game in a local game store, my roommate was with me, and he walked over like at the end of the game. He's like, yeah, that dude was just cheating against you. And I was like, what the fuck? So it's definitely like really rampant in the Magic community of like, there are a lot of great lady streamers and players and role models, but it is still like, it's still just like discouraging to break into because of, you know, like I'll ask a guy friend who's been playing Magic for 15 years how often people cheat against him, and he's like virtually never. And I'm like, literally the last 3 tournaments someone tried to cheat against me every time. Like, wow, it just happens.
that's so weird.
It's almost a vicious
they
cycle.
Think they can get away with it because they just think that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a vicious cycle, because it's like, you know, it's women face more abuse in games and more harassment in games, and then they don't want to play games, right? Like it basically pushes women away, and then you see less women in games. Like it's harder for us to get into the competitive scene. Every time there's a woman that tries to enter a competitive esports scene, there's like controversy around it. Like there's always debate and just like, I don't know, it's like always a thing. So it definitely is a vicious cycle.
Yeah. The good news is that there's at least in the Magic community, there are way more lady streamers than I see in like the average of other competitive games. And like one of my friends, Ash Lizzle, she just like top 8 in a big tournament online, and that's like really dope. And so there's definitely, I think, if you go to a local game store, most of them nowadays, they have like a very good air of acceptance in like everyone's trying to do a better job to, be especially welcoming of women because they understand how like the community used to be. So it's obviously still pretty crappy, but it's cool to see, at least in the Magic community, of like things have been picking up a lot. There have been a lot more women streaming and a lot more women playing, and just like getting into the game.
Mm-hmm. And with that, like, is there anything that MTG does specifically, like, to elevate women or to
I think developer support is really interesting in helping women, thrive in the environment, is that they have a few different programs. I mean, they just have like a content creation program of like, they feature a different streamer every day or every week, and they try to get like a very even balance of women to men, even though there's like not an even balance of women to men who stream. But then there's also some larger tournaments, they send out discretionary invites, which are genuinely controversial to a lot of people. But I think like over the last year that they've existed, people have slowly come around to understand why they exist. And it's exactly because of the controversy that happened when they first came out, of it's like there is a very disproportional amount of men to women. There's like 64 men in this one big tournament, and it's just like from a lack of representation of the player base. And so what Wizards of the Coast will try to do for some big tournaments is they'll allocate 16 slots to just folks that they think would best represent the community, and they'll invite some women, like some non-binary folk or some LGBTQ folk, just to like help the representation. And some of those people have actually like gone out to do really well in those tournaments. And so some people are like, oh, you don't deserve to be there. And it's like, well, why did they just beat, the best person in the world then? So I think developer support actually comes a really long way in like establishing a friendly undertone and understanding that like we need more of this. So it's been pretty dope to see what Wizards has done. Like that's been kind of what drew me to Magic in the first place, and what's kept me around Magic is just, there's obviously a lot of imbalance everywhere, but it's cool to see them trying.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome.
That actually made me think of something. Like, you say they were invited and they have gone on to do very well, and like that makes me think, like, do you ever feel like you have to be like representative of women on the internet, and you have to be like a good like standard of woman, and you have to be a certain level of feminist on the internet in order to like thrive here? Just because if you slip up, you're under a microscope all the time. I do.
I used to think that when I did like play H1 a lot, because it was like very competitive and everybody didn't really take you seriously unless you were good. So I like just killed myself every stream, like over trying to be the best. And like if I don't know, I'd get really, really upset, or I'd rage so hard if I got like top twos, or like, I don't know, if I died over something stupid, and I would really beat myself up over it. And now I'm caring less about it, because it's not about my skill why people watch, right? It's about like the content and me and the time they have there. But I definitely felt that a lot, just because I have to be like, I don't know, just better than the average girl, because every dude looks at me and it automatically is like, oh, you have boobs? Okay, you must suck. Okay,
yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah, it's interesting. We actually were talking about that a couple episodes ago with Nega Oryx and Chilbo, like this exact weird pressure that I didn't even realize other women felt. Like I didn't really realize that I felt it until like, I play games like Dark Souls and stuff, and like there's definitely a stubbornness in me to play games really well, and that's, there's a competitive side of me, but there's also just the side of like, I do feel that pressure. And it's always interesting because, whenever I play games with my viewers, they're mostly guys, and I'm mostly much better than anyone I play with, like by a lot. So it is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that pressure has been alleviated in my angle for a little bit, just because like I won some pretty big tournaments against some like pretty big players. But it's kind of sad that I feel like one of the only reasons I might feel like that pressure doesn't hit me is because I've already done a thing.
Right.
It's like I imagine, in the world where like in the world where I haven't done the thing, I probably would still feel like in that angle. I don't know. It feels like a lot of this is in like a really similar track of just like positive competitive mindset of like you just do the thing that you're gonna do. It doesn't matter how you do because everybody fucks up all the time, and it's like we're all humans who fuck up, and definitely it definitely like stings a little harder when you fuck up because you feel like you're letting down a huge chunk of underrepresented people. Like a lot of the motivations for competing obviously are personal, but then there's a big aspect of like, well, if I won, there would have been so many women and girls out there who are like, oh my gosh, maybe I can play Magic. And so that definitely like very inadvertently just rides on my shoulders. And it's like I try not to let it bog me down, but it's something that like you can't help but thinking of. Like when you're at a point of pressure, you're like, it's really essential to not think this way, but it's a thought that pops up in way too many people's heads of like, think of all the people that would be so happy if I won, think about all the people that would be disappointed if I didn't.
Yeah, I think this is something that a lot of underrepresented groups feel, a lot of minority groups feel as well. So I
just think there's a pressure to like know the game that you're playing and to like be able to talk about it and be able to like, I don't know, kind of almost prove yourself at every moment, every time you're broadcasting. And I just wonder, like, I don't know, I guess I never have asked a lot of my male friends if they feel that way, but my guess is that they don't feel it, maybe at least to the same extent.
I've talked about it on stream and people were like, I did not even know that was a thing. Like, did not even think about that. There was something I wanted to ask related to that, and I think I've lost it. Dang it. Oh, Wes had a good question that ties to this. Is there any way to combat the type of people that make every woman streamer the example for all women streamers? I've never seen anything like, oh, look, another dude showing off his beard, but I see the opposite toward women all the time. What can be done about people who want to make you a representative for your entire gender?
What can you do?
I mean, I think
you can't really do much, right? I feel like, I mean, they're gonna think that, right? At the end of the day, no matter what you do,
right?
That's a tough question. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I think you really do just have to like kind of let them have that opinion and maybe kind of set them straight. Like, I am just one person and I'm going to do this the way I'm going to do this, but I'm an individual. I'm not a woman. I mean, I am a woman, but like, I'm not just a woman, I guess. I'm a lot of labels, and a lot of times I'll pull out some labels and be like, I'm a woman, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a partner, I am a girlfriend, I am, I'm all of these things, and none of those things are everybody else in the world. So my brain and how my brain is doing this, and what I'm saying is just one opinion. So if you're going to make an example out of me, that's a bad time, because I definitely have varying opinions from other women, from other people in this industry. I like, if you want to try and get a sample size, ask this question to multiple people and get all of the answers, because that's how you're going to get a good idea of what people think of this. I cannot represent women for you.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely get that a lot, considering I just compete a lot. I think my usual way to combat it, because it's weird, someone will come in there and compliment you. They're going to feel like, what they said was strictly positive, etc. I feel like the way I usually combat it is I just go ahead and compliment someone else in response. Is like, I felt that my go-to thing is if someone in here is like, you're not like X, or it's like, oh, you're definitely like the best Lady Magic streamer because you actually compete. And then I'll name like 5 other Lady Magic streamers who are also competitive and like respectable and like awesome people. And I'll just like go off on why. So if there's at least like one person, maybe not the exact person who said that, who understands that there are more people other than myself who do what I do, and that, you shouldn't praise someone for just like a specific thing that might feel against the grain, etc., that might feel a compliment. I don't know. I feel like countering the weird compliments with genuine compliments might at least help people understand that you should admire streamers for the right reasons and not really for the wrong reasons.
I really like that. I really, really like that. I don't see it so much as like, oh, I'm not very good at games. People don't watch me because I'm good at games, but I don't really see it in like a competitive sense. But a lot of times, Loco kind of brought this up earlier, but like people will say like, thank you for being modest, basically, or thank you for not swearing, thank you for not doing these things. And those are such weird compliments because they're non-compliments. Like,
Yeah.
you know, those are me being compared to somebody else, and I am, because I met a standard of how you wanted me to do this thing, now somehow I am in your good graces. And I have actually definitely, like, anytime somebody comes in and is like, thank you for, as long as I'm in a shirt that could show cleavage, if they compliment me for not showing cleavage, I will like lower my shirt. I'll like pull it down and be like,
Like, oh, I didn't
I'm
realize it was riding up
sorry.
so much.
Like,
Let me just-
yeah, geez, let me adjust. Like, I think that is such a weird thing to say because I don't find cleavage to be anything other than a body part. Like, it's just part of me.
Mhm.
I have it like regardless. It's spoilers. It's still there if you can't see it. Like, sorry to tell you. So I like the idea of like complimenting people who are kind of like doing the thing that you're also doing, I guess, and like paying it forward and saying like, I don't have to be the only person that does this, or even saying like, you know, thank you for doing this thing that this other person doesn't do, or vice versa, or whatever. Maybe throwing the compliment back to people who, you know, do that thing, you know, and saying like, oh, I like this person though, and they do it and they're doing well for themselves and they have nothing, like that's not anything about it, because it's this like comparison thing that happens, and I don't need to be compared to other people, especially if you're going to put that person down. That's not okay with me. I don't need to put other people down to put me in this weird position in your brain.
I think a big part of that concept is that there's validity in every, you know, angle of streaming, and it's not just,
Exactly,
you know, oh, they come in here and compliment me as a competitor. And it's like, well, what about this person? They always make me laugh a lot. And it's like, this person always makes me just feel really chill. It's like, there's a lot of reasons to praise people. And there's no one particular thing someone should put someone up on a pedestal for. It's like, just because, you know, I won a tournament doesn't mean that I'm better than other women. It's like, this person is really, really good at this and like this specific thing. Or it's like, I just go here to chill. Like you know, I feel there's definitely times when you can't really go into my stream to chill because I'm just yelling and just like very intense and stuff. There's like a lot of people who do the things that I don't do. And just because it's, you know, maybe like not the most, I don't know, commonly viewed as like impressive thing. It's like, it's actually really important. Like, it's important for us to feel happy and comfortable. It's like everyone wants to feel that way. And not everyone does that kind of stuff. And not everyone like compliments that kind of stuff either or recognizes it. So it's like important to take the things that people commonly compliment you for and maybe kind of spin it in a direction of like, well, this, but like, thank you, I appreciate that. And it's like, if you know, et cetera, other people do this stuff like really, really well. Like, you should go check that out too, because that is like, that's going to make your day better. Whether they're like, you know, specifically under your like spotlight of like, oh, they just have to be good at a game, et cetera. There's like a lot of other things to be good at besides the game.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, while streamers don't have to do this, I do think it is really powerful to communicate and, you know, especially when these things arise in chat, to be able to use it as a teaching moment, because I do feel like it's not just the people that are outright misogynists that you're going to see. Those people come and go. Like they say something dumb and they get banned, they move on. But you also have a lot of people that are just genuinely ignorant to inequality. I had someone in chat the other day who didn't realize that women did not have the right to vote in the US like until like the last 100 years. So yeah, no, it was very, yeah. And at the same time, I think there's also a lot of internalized misogyny as well. Like, you know, these backhanded compliments that we're talking about, like these will be said by people who genuinely admire you. They might be a longtime viewer and they don't really realize what they're saying. And so using that as a teaching moment can be really powerful, because you can actually change people's mindset and make a difference in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually had people like just come forward and say like, spending time here has really opened my eyes to things like that, because I think they genuinely just hadn't thought of it because they hadn't been exposed to it before. And there's nothing wrong with that. The issue for me comes in like an unwillingness to learn. That's the only time I'm ever like, you know, if you're asking genuine questions or you just genuinely didn't know and you thought that was a compliment, that's okay with me. I can handle that. But it's when you're like combative that, you know, my opinion and my thoughts are not valid all of a sudden, then you gotta go.
That's the big thing with my mindset of like, the yellow, like just kind of that yellow zone of people come in with relatively questionable comments and you never know whether they're genuinely trying to be harmful or like maybe just an older person on the platform who doesn't understand like modern day societal positions and understandings as well. And so I think it's important to meet indifference with positivity and see how they respond. And
Yep.
a lot of the times they could just respond positively and it ends up that like you help the person open up their worldview a little bit, or if they respond negatively you could just freaking ban them and that's it, like and that's all. It takes one
Yeah.
extra message to figure out if someone's
Right.
full of poop or not.
Mm-hmm.
I like how that's the word that you censor. Like,
What?
Full of
Trying
poop.
my best.
Loco told us we couldn't swear before this.
Yeah, Buddy has failed already. She's never coming
What?
back, but
What?
I forgot
just
about
kidding.
that rule. I'm sorry if I cursed. Did I curse yet? No, right?
it's
Okay,
fine.
good.
It's fine. But speaking of banning, we have seen some changes coming in from Twitch's side about how bans are being handled, where if someone is banned, they won't be able to see chat. If they have multiple accounts, it IP bans them. We're seeing
Dude, that's so sick. I'm so
That's
happy about
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
unconfirmed shadow banning potentially happening. What do you guys think about these changes that are coming?
The amount
I'm
of people who
so-
had way too much freaking time on their hands to sit there and make usernames just to make fun of me or make fun of just like marginalized groups and just like make me have to shut off notifications was astounding. And like
Yep.
I'm just thrilled that there is now exactly what we wanted, which was like IP bans and making sure that they just can't come back because you see someone come in here with account created a minute ago and you're like, oh my god, it's this person again. And sometimes they'll be discreet, sometimes they'll be really, really intense, but like, man, am I glad to just get rid of them after the first go. Like that is dope.
Yeah, I'm super in for IP bans. I spent half of a 12-hour stream one time just in like you had to be following for a week mode just because I like had a bout of one person. It was one person that was like continuously coming back. And we normally you can put it in like followers 5 minutes or follower 10 or whatever. And they're like, they won't sit and be patient, but they were.
They do,
were
yeah.
incessant. And I was like, this is like you're ruining my vibe, dude. Like you're like I don't even care. I just want nice people to come in here and like I would like to meet new people, but you're ruining that experience for people. Congratulations. I guess that you spent your sad, pathetic holiday doing this to one person, like for what? Like for what? I don't even know you. I don't care about you. Like this is literally the only time I've even thought of it for months. And it's only because it's relevant to the conversation of IP banning. Like genuinely, like I don't think of trolls after I ban them. You're not special to me. I don't know your name. I don't care.
Yeah. I got one of those like I got a hate raid where like people from a Discord like coordinated everybody to come into my channel and scream hateful things at me. And from that point on, I turned follower only mode on. Just like for 0 minutes, like you just have to be following. And I always have like the username list up. So I have a pretty good eye for if like someone really problematic slides in. It's like you can kind of ban them before they even say anything. So, and I turned on that extra filter and it feels like a lot of the time trolls won't even go through the effort of like following someone to come in and say something messed up.
Yeah, most trolls won't. They don't care.
Yeah, it's something like I turned it on for that stream and I didn't notice for the next 2 months. And I just like, I generally noticed that chat has been more tame lately and no one brought it up. I just didn't know. I was like, okay, cool. And then I like looked at my settings. I was like, huh, I guess I'm keeping it. Like it just seemed, it was weird how beneficial it was to just like clearing the space a little bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, it's really interesting because the shadow banning thing is not, I don't think that's something that Twitch has confirmed. It's something someone else has tested. But what do you guys make of that? Because to me, that I'm really excited about more than, I think just blocking out, the chat for someone that's banned, but actually like people wasting their time typing in chat and then you never see their comment. No one sees their comment ever.
That's
I mean,
great. The less
it's hilarious.
toxic stuff I see, the better.
I think it's
I think
hilarious.
it's great too because they just waste their time.
Yeah,
It's
that's
perfect.
exactly what they're doing
They
anyway.
waste their time, and then nobody is there to see that time being wasted
Mhm.
except them.
I
They're
think
there
that's
for the
fantastic.
response anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like if you don't let them get a rise out of literally anybody, I'm like, good.
Mhm.
And then they get frustrated at themselves, like, why isn't anyone reacting? That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Do you,
That's
so
great.
do you guys mute people on Twitter?
Yes,
Oh yeah.
all the
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I do this more
it's
than
fantastic.
blocking because
Mm,
they will
It
just
means like
keep
they
going.
kind of.
They just don't
Yeah.
know. They have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, if you block them, then they can see that you did that. But if you
Mhm.
mute them, it's like a
They're
secret
just
little.
shouting into the void of
Yeah.
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a
great.
big difference between me and a lot of like guy friends who stream is just like what's the size of your Twitter blocked and muted list? Where it's like hundreds for me and it's like 3 people for them. And it's like, yeah, might be a reason for that, maybe.
Maybe.
Wait, can you see that? Can you see your list?
Yeah,
On
if you go
Twitter,
into
yeah.
your settings, you can see how many people you have like blocked
Yeah.
muted. It's a lot.
I don't too much. I will, if anything, just like because I've spoken out about gender inequality in video games in the past, and that brings out the absolute worst type of people, entitled male gamers. And I just usually mute the tweet after I tweet it. As soon as I start catching a riff that like there's like bad people starting to comment, I just mute the entire tweet and I just leave it. And if people want to fight within it, that's them and their energy. But for me, I'm just like, I said my piece. I'm not going to spend time arguing, 180 characters per exchange. And I just back out. I'm just like, okay, you just keep yelling at nothing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely not the platform for trying to change somebody's worldview. That is for sure. I don't use Twitter for that typically. Like I'll speak
Mhm.
my mind on Twitter, but if somebody is going to get combative about it, unless I know them and like I know that they're being sincere about the questions that they're asking, then I don't engage. I just don't even I don't even reply. I'm just like I don't have the energy to try and condense what I have to say down into 240 characters. It's not going to happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, Loco, you're such a powerful human for being able to do that on Twitter. Because, like, I don't know, all my takes.
Oh,
Like, I don't.
you cut out for a sec.
Huh?
You cut out for a sec. What do you say?
In my back. Oh,
Yeah.
I said you said you just like such a strong human for doing the thing. Like all my takes on Twitter are like so. I don't have takes on Twitter. It's just like innocent, wholesome gameplay on my tweets, or just like food or something. Like all of my actual opinions are on my stream, where I can like control the discussion and make sure it doesn't derail.
Mm.
And I don't know. I think once you post something on Twitter, if it's just that amount of letters and words in there, then it starts like it can start festering really
explain
weird in
yourself.
certain directions. And so I'm uncomfortable with just posting that kind of stuff on Twitter.
I also feel like posting that kind of thing on Twitter is sometimes scarier because it can take off and become much bigger than the little space that you've created.
Mm-hmm.
That happened to me not that long ago, actually, where a tweet of mine just kind of took off and I was like, this is not the corner of the internet that I'm used to. Now there are people talking about this thing that I felt very safe talking about. It was somebody who had DM'd me for nudes. And I had just basically said, no, I don't do that. And they said, sorry, okay, moving on with my life. And I tweeted
the
it out
respectful
being like,
nude guy. I remember
yeah,
that.
respectful nude guy. That was that was my tweet. And I tweeted it out being like, this is funny and interesting, but also like, don't ask me for nudes. I'm not advertising that. And the response that got like went much beyond my normal scope of the internet. And that's not something that happens on your stream. Like you could, I guess, somehow magically blow up and have a bajillion people watching, but then you have absolute control over how many people are in there and saying whatever they're
And what
saying.
they say, because you can ban them if you don't like
exactly, because you can ban them. But having those people in, I had to mute it and like try not to think about it for days. And then I had this like panic of like,
That's the worst.
what do you do after that? Like, what do you say after that? Because now who from that tweet is watching what I'm saying? And yeah, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be like outside of that comfort zone. So I think it is a really brave thing, even if, and that sounds ridiculous to be like, I'm a woman and my thoughts are sometimes like, it's scary to share my thoughts
Mm-hmm.
because people might just retaliate just because I'm a woman who has a brain. But it's true. Sometimes it gives me a lot of pause, especially on like socials where I don't have as much control over who's seeing it.
Yeah, and it's like there's definitely going to be an amount of people like, oh, you can't have a conversation where you like don't have control of it, and it's like, well, that's because there's a lot of degenerates out there, and at least like in your own stream, in your own community, you can control that and help people understand to not be a strictly negative person. It's not like you have a take and someone else has an equal take from the other side. It's like you're trying to exist, and they're saying, no, you're doing that wrong. It's really it's not like a thing you could balance on a scale.
Yeah.
And that's the really important thing about like filtering through your community. You're not creating like a bubble for yourself. You're just making sure that like oppressive, aggressive, and stupid people are not voicing themselves in a way to shut others down, or voicing themselves at all.
Mm-hmm.
As like it's not a counterpoint to just
Yeah.
put someone down. It doesn't
I
work
think-
that way.
I think the other big thing is it's not even so much that I want control over the conversation. It's that I didn't invite that conversation to begin
Mhm.
with. You
Yeah.
came to me. It was like I was reading a book and you were like, "Hey, how about we talk about the weather today?" And I'm like, I just wanted to read my book. You started this conversation with me. I don't want to have that conversation with
Mhm.
anyone. Not you, not anyone. I don't care. I don't care who you are. Like, I didn't ask for that conversation. I think that's a big part of it for me. I'm okay to have a conversation even with somebody that I might not agree with, and I'm okay to have that conversation in an uncontrolled setting off Twitch, I guess. But I have to have also invited the conversation. And that was, that's not always the case when people are deciding that you're wrong.
Yeah, especially when something blows up like that and you have people that don't know you, that don't understand you, they pass judgment and they jump to conclusions and it just spirals from there. Like, so how did you handle that? Like, did you end up muting the thread and ignoring it? Did you try to like take it head on, or?
I mean, I had to mute the thread just because it was flooding everything. I couldn't like exist on Twitter anyway without it. But
Mhm.
it was also really hard for me because I will occasionally post lewds, but they're in like a body positivity way, and it's always marketed it that way. Like it's always something that I want to do to show off my body because spoilers, don't have an industry standard body. So it's, I think, good for me, and it's good for other people who have a similar body to mine to see it out there, and it's especially good for me, honestly, to put it out there and to like say like, this is okay. It's okay to not exist in this one box. And that was always how I had marketed it. So for me, like for people to respond and say, well, you did post yourself in your underwear, what did you expect? Or you're a fat cow, or like so much negativity came from it. I definitely like, I was obsessive about it like the same day that it started to kind of like take off.
Mhm.
But for my own sake, just to not internalize a lot of that, because I think a lot of it is really, it was definitely really hard for me to not second guess why I had put my body on the internet to begin with, because I definitely had a moment of, did I ask for this? Which is ridiculous because I definitely did not.
Mhm.
But I think the only thing I could do at that point was ignore what was being said and just try to like talk to people who had a similar mindset to me and had my back, and kind of have like talk to my support system and hear them kind of reaffirm what I already knew and why I had done it in the first place. That really helped.
Yeah. What about you guys, Curvy, like with posting photos and stuff? Like, I mean, I know you use Instagram quite a bit. Do you,
Mhm.
how much do you think about like what type of content you're putting out there involving pictures, where those, that is type of content that, people love to judge?
I try to keep my Instagram and Twitter like separate. Twitter's more for like my business, I guess, streaming and like opinions on Twitch stuff. You know what I mean? And then I keep the pictures and like the more sexy side of things, I guess, on Instagram, because I feel like it's more like, not Instagram's like for that, but it's a picture platform, right? So I don't know. That's how I kind of, and I just don't like the trolls that are on Twitter. I like my Instagram community way better because they're more like understanding and more like, what's the word? Not judgy, I guess. And I don't know. They're there for a reason. It's a picture feed. You know what I mean? Twitter, I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's not for me. It's not for that, I guess. Because yeah, I don't like the people on Twitter. They're too opinionated and they're too quick to like what you said, to tell you like what you're doing is wrong and all that stuff. So I just I don't deal with it. I like what sometimes post like a good morning selfie once in a blue moon, but yeah, I try to keep it off Twitter just for those reasons that you deal with, unfortunately. The stupid people that are, you know, I have an account, so you must hear my opinion, even though we don't want it.
It's funny because I didn't get that attention on those, like on the original like photos. That is not the response that I got. It was all really positive because it was the people who follow me and maybe the people who follow them. And because of like my curated feed, I guess I don't see a lot of that same commentary, but like having, like I said, having something reach outside of my normal group was enlightening.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't posted my body since, so it clearly had an effect on me.
No, don't do that. Oh, I almost said that word. F it. Keep doing it.
Yeah, that's gotta be hard. I'm very safe with my brands, and definitely a lot of it that comes down to the negative like reaction that people get towards more revealing content, like more revealing pictures and stuff like that. I think it's also creeps is another thing too. Like I don't know if you guys get a lot of creeps, but I've had my fair share of creeps, and I don't even like post anything revealing. I have no tolerance for like pet names and people like I'm very like I like keep a safe distance from my community. I love them, but I definitely am very careful with how I interact with them. I don't know how your guys' experience has been in that regard.
Very creepy. Super creepy. Like almost every, I don't know. I have like my open DMs, and then I have like the direct messages that like they have to go through a filter or me like add them back or something.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time it's pretty positive and like normal. But man, some of the things I get are bizarre. Not even just like Instagram, yeah. Okay. And on Twitter, everywhere. It's just, I don't even post stuff on Twitter, so I don't know. But yeah, it's not like the average like, can I have a foot picture or something? It's like weird requests, and a lot of it is like broken English, so it's probably like a language barrier thing. But it's like they're not even complete sentences. It's just like, love you, nude pics.
Like, that reminds me of like the SpongeBob episode of like, this isn't your average darkness, this is advanced darkness. That's how like weird the DMs get. It's just like advanced creepiness, like because there's levels of like, sometimes people DM you like positive things like, hey, you really brightened my day or something, and then sometimes it'll just be like, oh, you're really pretty, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm not going to respond to that kind of stuff. And then it just like, there's like many more like flights of stairs for it to drop down to the point of it. It's just it's weird.
I do have to say, like, even the genuine nice ones, I sometimes will read them and like just either like on Twitter, like the tweet, or on Discord, react to it or something, and not really write something back, because I have had that backfire where someone said something like, oh, I just really enjoy your streams, thank you so much. And I'll be like, and I said this on Twitter, and I said something like, thanks, friend. And from then on, this person would tweet at me every 5 minutes for like the next 24 hours being like, oh my God, she responded. Oh my gosh, can she respond again? And just like full clingy mode. No. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never using the word friend ever again. Like, I've never had done that before. And I did it one time. I used the word friend towards someone who's being nice that I didn't know. And it went really, really wrong. So I was like, okay, I'll just never do that again.
I could definitely
use hearts a lot.
Like,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, hearts are. No, I was just saying I could definitely relate to like having a fairly cookie cutter response to somebody and having it get like misinterpreted really badly to the point where it's like, I'm sorry that I haven't answered your genuinely nice and innocent DMs anymore. I see them and I could just put like a little heart or something. But at this point, it's like, every time you do something like that, you have to extend yourself out to some extent. And
it definitely feels like you're opening up the door to have a conversation where you weren't necessarily, but it feels like people definitely interpret it that way, where all of a sudden your DMs are open. And I try to like redirect it to a public space because that's just where I'm more comfortable addressing it. Like I'll respond, I'll absolutely respond in my Discord where everybody else can see it, but I don't love to respond to DMs.
Yeah, what Curvy said too, with just like responding with a heart. It's like that closes it.
Well, I use hearts in normal conversation, like with my friends all the time. Like, even as a response, like just a heart or something. But I've tried to like back off from that, from like fan accounts or something like that. Even I try not to do smiley faces even, because I feel like that could be misinterpreted to like, oh, she smiled.
She must like me. She was nice to me. No, she's just nice to everyone. She's just a nice person.
Yeah, so I try to not. I just keep it very casual. And I'm like, hi, thanks. Yes.
Hi, yes, hello, thank you.
Hello.
Goodbye, have a nice day. Suddenly you said have a nice day, so it's all messed up again.
I'm in.
Kirby, I love your emote.
Thanks.
It's one of my favorite emotes.
That's the heart is so angry. Hate love.
It's like when I say I hate you, chat. It's like I hate you, but I love you kind of thing.
Oh, that's a nice.
Like I love hate you, stupid.
That's how my chat is too. I need to steal that idea.
Or just have everyone sub to Curvy. So you know,
that is true.
That works.
Plug.
You're a thinker.
Big ideas in this brain.
So we are nearing the end of the show, but I do want to talk about a few more things, especially because, you know, we have some awesome representatives of the LGBTQ community. And I know you, like Buddy and Frank, I know you guys stream with the tag, or I don't know if you do anymore, Frank, but how has that experience for you been? Has that brought in new people, new trolls? Like, what is that experience like?
Yeah,
I heard it brought a lot of trolls, right? Like they specifically look for that tag.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was at Twitch and they were asking me about it. And they were asking like, how would you feel with like more specific tags? Because a lot of people ask for that kind of stuff. And I look at it from like two avenues. Is like they both end at, you know, they start at the search bar and they end in my channel. But one is like LGBTQ to look for representation, and the other one is just to look for someone to attack. And like I think pretty much anyone who comes into my chat and starts harassing me for that kind of stuff, as someone who exclusively went out, it's not like they sat down and they're like, man, I really don't like her, I want to start making fun of her. It's like they looked me up most typically by the tag to find someone to hate on, and it definitely makes you a really big target. But it's tough because it also opens you up to having a lot of people discover you. Like I've had so many people be like, yeah, I just looked at the LGBTQ tag and you were right up there and I decided to pop in. This is really fun. I don't even play Magic. I don't know what's going on, but I'm having a fun time and I feel welcome. So it's like, it's the toughest freaking thing in that it invites two completely different sides of the coin. And you can't really shut one down without shutting the other down. And you can't open one up to be more specific without opening the other one up to be more specific.
I completely agree with that. I will say that the trolls have died down. When tags were first released, it was almost unbearable to the point where I had a discussion with my mods of, I will stop streaming with this tag until it chills out, if that's what you want. And all of my mods were the warriors that they were like, no, that's letting them win. We got this. We're going to hunker down. We'll, you know, get things in place and do what we have to do to make this a safe thing. But I completely agree. For me, the good outweighs the bad to use the tag, but I don't think I would want something more specific just because I don't know that it's necessary. I wouldn't mind an ally tag for those who do want to put themselves out there as an ally, but for me, it just is kind of an unnecessary tag because I feel like you should just be an ally.
Yeah.
But maybe that's wishful thinking. I don't know.
What is an ally?
Just like supportive of the LGBTQ community. It's something that in like
within
in the community,
tag, there's always a war of whether or not allies should be able to use the tag, basically. You know, I am a safe space, but I'm not a member of the LGBT community. Should I use the tag? You know, and
do people get mad at that?
Oh,
it's been a debate. Yeah.
Come up a
Yes.
couple of times, and it's a very heated debate. And for me, it's just not one that I'm willing to get into. I just think like I see both sides of it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you want my voice on it, my one voice, again, I come back to like, if I am your representative of the LGBT community, please don't look further. Like there's so many people that have differing opinions of mine, you know, gather their info and figure out your own stance based on that. But like, you know, people definitely, they get heated about whether or not allies should use the tag. Anyway, that's beside the point. I don't think I would want more specific tags personally. Just,
Yeah.
I think it would, I also think it would water down like, I think it would water down the community a lot because in the end, like, I like that the tag is kind of unifying for us as a queer community. I think it's kind of nice that we can all be like, yeah, we go through similar but different struggles, and
Yeah,
I'm here for
that's a good
all of
point.
you. You know, I'm not here for just the other poly people. I'm not here for just the other pan people. I'm here for everybody within that community. And maybe not everybody feels that way. I know not everybody feels that way, but I do. So I like that it's kind of a unifying thing personally.
I totally agree with that. I think that's a really good point of like, you know, if someone is bi, you know, maybe they just never find like a really dope trans streamer where they would have fit into their community super well if
Yeah.
like all the tags are just separate. I do. That's a really good point that I haven't actually like heard fleshed out into words. It's like, yeah, that's really smart.
I got brains too.
Crap, I keep losing my questions. I had something to tie into this and I wanted to talk about it and it's going away. Oh, yes, here it is. So we kind of talked about this earlier about, you know, as a woman feeling the pressure to be the representative of your entire gender. Do you guys feel that way? Especially like donning the tag on Twitch, like you're inviting yourself to be a representative of the community. Do you feel an added pressure because of that?
Are you saying that we
Somewhat.
Are you saying we are like representing
Uh,
all women, or
well, there is like that pressure, like that feeling that you have to, like that you're judged because like in the group of
you're
being a
setting
woman.
an example of right?
Mhm.
Were you talking about the LGBTQ tags though, or?
Yeah. So like that
Oh, okay.
same, basically that same thing, but like, do you feel it like using that tag on Twitch? Do you feel like you have that pressure of being like that representative?
I think that pressure definitely exists. I think I have like a really streamlined competitive mindset of like, don't worry about it. And that's just kind of what gets me through a lot of the day. Not that it's not important. It's just, it's not important to tie yourself up over, but it's like it's extremely valid to get tied up over. And it's extremely valid to feel that weight on your shoulders. If, you know, being inadvertently a community representative just because you put yourself out there and maybe you happen to be the only person who's doing it at the time, or you happen to just have like a larger community, and so suddenly you are an example and suddenly people look to you as like someone who paves a way or sets a path. And so it's really not unreasonable to put that pressure on yourself. Like that pressure definitely exists. Like how you deal with it is sometimes up to you and sometimes honestly not up to you. Like certain anxieties just set in, and a lot of the time I will just shut down and be like, well, it's been nice. But yeah, and it's like generally I try to contain that, and like it doesn't matter, I'm just gonna do my thing and I'll be okay, whatever I'm representing or whoever. I'm very happy and proud to be able to do that, but it should not affect how I act or do, outside of the fact that, you know, maybe I should just try to be a little better on my own. Like maybe it inspires me to be a little bit of a nicer person on my platform, but otherwise it shouldn't really change who I am. I shouldn't be a representative for the sake of being a representative. If I represent a group, it should just be because I'm being myself, and people like that.
I completely agree with that. Like, it doesn't get me thinking about like, am I a good person to represent the LGBT community? For me, it actually manifests in, do I feel like I can speak on LGBT issues? And so I feel more pressure to be like up to date on policies and up to date on kind of helping people through, you know, their day-to-day life if they have like a not supportive family home, or you know, if they're going through like, I can't be out in front of people, or I'm still dealing with using a dead name, that kind of stuff. Like I feel like I need to be more up to date on how to talk about that kind of thing. That is where I feel pressure more than who I am representing a community well, because I think I feel fairly confident in that part of it. I think like I don't question whether or not I'm a good person very often. Occasionally, you have that moment of like, oh God, did I overstep? Did I do something that I shouldn't have done, or what have you? But I think in general, I don't question whether or not my being represents the community well. I more so question whether or not I feel fit to handle other people who might find me because of that tag and seek support from me and from the community. And are we as a community able to handle that? What are we equipped to handle? What aren't we equipped to handle? That kind of thing. That's where I'd start to feel that pressure.
Mhm.
But again, kind of what Bloody was saying, if anything, it just inspires me to be more well read about it and to be more well spoken about it and to be just a better person in general, to hopefully inspire others to do that same thing. And I think that goes beyond just LGBT. I think that's true of like being a streamer. Hopefully for a lot of people, maybe that's just my weird anxiety brain, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like there's people who don't think about what they say and what type of messaging that they propagate, but I agree with you. I do feel like streamers have an added duty to, be understanding of issues, and maybe, you don't have to speak out about it, but like if you're gonna run your mouth, like at least know what you're talking about or think before you say something. It could be like really damaging to, other people. Do you guys have any support systems because we've talked a lot here, there's a lot of different things to talk about, a lot of it's really heavy, like it's hard to find like the light sometimes because there is a different experience to being a woman in general, and on the internet is a whole thing as well on top of that. Do you guys have any support systems for those that are out there that, may be struggling either getting into streaming, getting into gaming, or just finding themselves being harassed?
Yeah, there's definitely a fair amount of communities that I'm familiar with that are like really good support systems for just people having troubles like this. I think like personally, I'm really thankful to have someone like my sister and have some really close friends I can talk to. And like one of my mods is like one of my best friends. Actually, two of my mods are like both really really good friends of mine that I could just call up after a stream and talk to unload, because it's like no, you're very correct in that none of this is without like extreme emotional bearing, and a lot of these situations can bring you down a lot more than almost you have time to feel, because you're experiencing so much in such frequent occurrences that like a support system is really really helpful. I mean, we like in my community we try to have a piece of our Discord that's like pretty dedicated to just like venting and try to give each other support. But like even then, I try to limit the severity that I let people vent to the point of, because like some people will just unload everything and they don't realize it's too much for other people. And so when
Dangerous.
you're kind of like the figurehead of trying to help everyone else, it's really hard to find help for yourself. And I've had in the past, I think now I've really drawn the line, but I've definitely had viewers who have like taken advantage of me trying to help and unloaded everything on me, and then I'm freaking out and I'm stressed and they're feeling better, and that's not fair to me.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the time, if people are having like a lot deeper issues, I'll DM them and be like, "Hey, friend, this is a lot. Like, it would be great if you could tone it down, because not everyone could extend themselves in such a way. And it's like maybe if you can find like therapy or something, or it's like there are also some other groups that the people who are in this group are like specifically really ready for heavier stuff. And so like I try to have those resources on hand so I can be like, oh well, here's this person's community, they're really good at like this type of thing, if you really want to get into the thick of it. But yeah, it's really important to just have support networks and boundaries too, to make sure that you get like you have a proportional amount of support to like your emotional load, because sometimes it just goes above what you can get support for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the best thing that I recommend for any, especially women, I think, in the industry is to find other women in the industry and talk to them about what you're going through. Talk to each other, lift each other up, and support each other, because that is absolutely invaluable to me, to have other women that I can reach out to and say, this thing happened, I don't know how to handle it, or this is how I handled it and I'm questioning everything, or this was said to me and I just can't get it out of my mind. And just like to have somebody who it's one thing to have like your family and your friends, but it's quite another to have somebody who also understands the industry the way
Yeah.
that we do.
For sure.
Mhm.
And I think that like step one, get friends in the industry. Like definitely like don't shy away from reaching out to people and talking to them and hearing their experiences and sharing your stories with each other, because I don't know what I would do without the friends that I've made on Twitch. Like they've helped me through some really
For sure.
rough spots. And even if it's just to say like, no, you got this, like you did what you're going to do, and life will move on. And even if it's just like the little motivations, it's still really nice to have somebody who understands kind of like exactly what you're going through. I think it's also good to have friends outside of the industry, for the record, but in the industry for like the things that are going on stream, especially, invaluable.
Yeah. My stream team has 3 other awesome women on the team, and one of them lives here in Texas, so we get to hang out, and it's like the combination of like that in-person time that actually me, Curvy, and Bloody also all get to do, and just having people that like just to blow off steam and that can relate to you. So I would agree, like finding other streamers to talk to and befriend and confide in is super helpful in this space.
I would say I was trying to rack my brain. I'm like, do I have a support system? And I would say I don't think I really do. Like if I don't know. I what comes to mind is like my mods are definitely one of the main support systems I have. I go to them for a lot, like for their opinion a lot of the times, like on a viewer or on the situation that happened, because like I value their opinion a lot and they help out a ton. So I would say
they
that's
were there.
mine.
They also saw it in real time. You don't have to like recount it to them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
So that would be my support system.
definitely a lot of value in like having a mod you can talk to. Is just like they were there. You don't have to like. There's so much value in not having to recall an annoying story of just like, man, that happened, and you just don't have to say anything else, and they'll be there for you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting anytime I hear that people aren't close with their mods. I'm just like, how?
Yeah, it's weird.
How do you? But how
we
do
have
you
a big group
about,
chat and WhatsApp? We talk like every day.
Yeah.
Well, I lurk. They talk a lot. I'm just like, this is funny.
Reading everything.
I read everything.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a great answer.
I haven't been streaming for a very long time compared to y'all, and so I don't have like as many mods and as fleshed out of a like mod community. But like, I think as of and it was actually like kind of troubling for me when I first started streaming, of like not being able to work up to modding some community members, like kind of the first step of just like raising some folks up to like give them some responsibility of just like policing the chat a little bit. But I think now it's a lot easier. Is like a lot of people, you can tell if they're kind of helping you out without even being a mod. And it's like it's pretty helpful to like figure out who could be a mod, etc. And now I definitely am much more in the situation of like, I have some really great folks. I don't have a ton of mods, but there's always like someone there, and it feels good to know that there's not like, I can still ban people myself and whatnot, but it feels good to know that I have backup if I get like really focused in on a game, or I'm like in a tournament and I have to minimize chat so I'm not like cheating or anything. It's like good to know that someone's there just in real time for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer. I'm glad you said that. So that's gonna do it for us today, guys. I know there's still so much to cover, but we only have so much time in the day. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's been such a great episode, and we'll definitely have to get together at some point in the future. But first, before we do our shout outs, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, because there's a show that's happening right after this. Your Brand, Your Business is talking about the business of cosplay. They've got 2 awesome guests on right after this. Stay tuned, guys. But first, let's do some shout outs. Bloody, starting with you, let us know where we can find you and what you're up to.
Yeah, twitter.com/Bloody or twitch.tv/Bloody. I stream Magic the Gathering. You don't really have to know Magic to have a fun time. I just chill, listen to good music, meme around sometimes, not understand pop culture references to like a surprising amount. And yeah, I don't know. It's a comfortable space. If you want to check me out, feel free. yeah, pass it off to someone else now.
Let's do Frank.
I am FrankthePegasus across the board, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the places. And I do a lot of really cozy games. Like I said, you have to do I do games that don't have endings. I like simulation games. So currently playing a lot of Animal Crossing, but I play Stardew Valley, and The Sims is probably my bread and butter. It's the game that I always go back to, never will ever leave. It's never my birthday in chat. I hate pickles, and that about sums it up.
Happy birthday.
Not my birthday.
I get
Birthday.
trolled so much too, so I
Carly,
understand.
she trolls you with your birthday.
I've never had a birthday. I don't even know what birthdays are.
She's great.
I've never been born. I was just spawned.
I was.
Curvyllama, let's do your shout out. Where can we find you? What are you up to?
A lot, kind of. I'm Curvyllama all over the place. Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, everything. So with everything coming out, Animal Crossing and like COD and everything, I'm addicted to both of those things. Modern Warfare 2 is about to come out, the remaster, which I'm gonna be all over that. I'm doing a lot of GTA no pixel roleplay stuff. My character just kind of is getting a cop role, so we're trying to do that a lot. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
Cool, awesome. I am Loco, and I was your host for today. Hunter will be back next week with me, so don't worry, don't cry too hard. He will be back. But you can find me at twitch.tv/LOWCO. I'm currently playing the heck out of Animal Crossing and Doom. I'm trying to go back to Doom at some point, but I'm obsessed with Animal Crossing right now, so I'm struggling. And I co-own Streamer Square, so if you guys enjoy this content, we do weekly shows Monday through Wednesday. We have a show coming right next, so again, don't go anywhere because your brand new business is going to start in just a few minutes. But give the channel a follow if you guys like this sort of content, and we'll see you next week on the stream scene. Have a great week, and see you for your brand new business next.
Bye.